to get us started, if you don't mind just telling me your names and where you're from and what you're studying, please.
I'm Claudia. I'm from Singapore and I do law.
And I'm Kat. I'm from Malaysia and I also do law.
If you were to describe Oxford University using any three adjectives, what would you choose?
Ooh, interesting.
I'd say beautiful because it's honestly one of the most wonderful university environments ever. Challenging because you're never going to be prepared for how heavy the workload can be, coupled with social activities. And I think fulfilling because it ultimately feels quite satisfying when you get through it.
For me, I'd say firstly it's grand in terms of architecture and also just in terms of its traditions, its history. The second adjective would have to be busy, because I don't think I've ever had a day of just very chill, light work. Even if I'm not working, I'm out and about doing something for societies or out with friends, and that's a really nice pace of life right now. And thirdly, I would say it's fun because there are so many activities and events that are going on here that I've never ever been able to join before in my life, and that's why it's really fun being in Oxford.
Why did you choose to come and study in the UK?
I think it's a very different kind of environment, or at least I thought it would be from Singapore, where things can be quite competitive and there's a big focus on rote learning. So here I find that I really enjoy the 1-to-1 or like the 1-to-2 classroom ratio, where you can actually talk through things with the tutors and get to know the peers that you're taking the course with really well.
Personally, I wanted to come to the UK because my brother had also studied in the UK before and he's living here now, and I just reckon that if I could also study here and hopefully get a job here one day, it would be nice to be in the same country as my brother.
What would you say is your least favourite thing about Oxford?
I think I have two things. First, it's the weather. So I come from a place where there's sun all year round. The sky is constantly blue. And I did not realize how much of an effect the weather would have on my general day-to-day mood. And I think second, it's sometimes very daunting to come to an environment where you've not grown up with a lot of the cultural norms here, like just the shows people watch or the things they eat. And that can be difficult with regards to forming bonds at the start, like pushing yourself past that comfort zone and then making genuine friends here.
Mm-hmm. I agree with Claudia when she said that it's daunting, because I also find a lot of truth in that statement. Even just in the way that sometimes Oxford just doesn't feel real. It's full of students and tourists, so when I go to Tesco's for like a big shop every week, I only ever see students and tourists, not really any families or like old people, really young people. It's just a very certain demographic, and because people come and go in Oxford, it's very much in like smack in the middle of the city centre, and nobody really sets up houses here and lives here for many years, so it can feel quite like there's a very strong hustle and bustle of just students coming in for a few years and leaving after a few years.
And how has the experience been as an international student at Oxford University?
Personally, I've really enjoyed my time here as an international student, especially in Jesus College, where we have had really good international events celebrating international festivals. Like we had one for Lunar New Year earlier this year, and I also feel that because of our collegiate system, it's also easier to meet people of other races and backgrounds, and that in itself is very precious to me. I think not many universities across the world have this kind of opportunity to have such a close bond with people of from other countries because of the nature of how a college works.
Yeah, I think one thing that surprised me when I came to Jesus is how once you get past the initial awkwardness of Freshers Week, people are a lot more open-minded than you would think they were gonna be. And so I've been able to actually meet a lot of great people from different backgrounds, like people I would literally never have met if I didn't come to Oxford. Like my closest friends here are people from York and people from Wales, like just a completely different context from the one I grew up in. So it's been very eye-opening. And yeah, I think it's just been overall like an amazing time so far.
What advice would you give to other people from your home countries if they were thinking of applying to UK universities in general or Oxford in particular?
I think be prepared and be eager to experience a cultural difference, and really make the most of being out of your comfort zone. Like, go for things that you would not be able to do if you were back home in Singapore, whether it be things like crew dates or like sports that you can't do back home, like rowing, and just like grasp onto the time that you have, because now I'm in my final term of first year, and it's flown by really fast.
It's flown by, yeah.
It's really fast, yeah.
As for me, I come from Malaysia, and I feel that there's so much talent in Malaysia, so much academic talent that I feel kind of I don't see it represented as much here in Oxford. We have around an average of like 10 undergraduates per year, and it's dwindling some years. And I feel like if there's one thing I can say to Malaysians watching this, it would be to just apply, to just go for it. I didn't feel like I felt that Oxford was such a, like, so far away, like such a big dream that I didn't really know I would be able to achieve. But if you don't go for it, you'll never know whether you are able to achieve it or not. Yeah, so my piece of advice would just be to have confidence and go for it, because even the application process itself has so much to teach you, so much to learn from it. Yeah.
Speaking of the application process, can you put your finger on what might have been important to your own success? What factors you think were critical in your coming here?
So I've actually applied to Oxford twice, and the first year when I applied, a lot of my peers around me applied as well. And if you're from Singapore, I think that would be quite a common experience. And I think a big part why it didn't go so well the first time was because I really put too much weight on it almost. Like, it became more than just a university to me. It was an encapsulation of my self-worth, and that didn't help me perform well in interviews because I overthought the process too much. But then the second time when I applied, I took a gap year, and that helps you gain a lot more perspective when you are working, when you're traveling, when you're out in the world. And that helped me really put it into perspective and enter the interview with a calm mind. And so I was able to demonstrate my full potential. And I think that's what helped me a lot more the second time I applied.
So like Claudia, I also did a gap year, and that was really helpful in helping me decide between the courses that I wanted to do. I couldn't make up my mind between law and PPE, but during that gap year I did a few internships and realized that I think law was right for me. And I think that's quite important, because in the whole application process, what they're trying to look for is your passion in the subject, for the subject. And so that gap year helped me a lot in deciding and to choosing the right subject. But also I would say this YouTube channel itself was really helpful for me as an international student, because especially from Malaysia, not many people have been to Oxford, so it was quite helpful to just have such accessible resources. So I would definitely recommend checking out online resources about the application process.
And when you go back home, what is it that your families and friends notice might have be changed about you, or might be slightly different since you've come to Oxford?
Definitely my accent. I think it's not that I'm trying to change my accent, but it's just a natural thing, kind of having it change naturally.
Yeah, like code switching, I think.
Yes. So when Claudia and I speak to each other, we speak in our usual Southeast Asian accents, but when we're here, we find it quite hard to keep that up. It's like quite a psychological thing,
Yeah.
I think. Yeah. Apart from that,
I think I'm a lot more laid back, ironically, maybe. Because over here there's just so much that you need to do and keep up with, that at a point in time you're just like, you know what, I'm just gonna get through it and I'm just gonna enjoy myself. And I think that's probably the main difference.
Mm-hmm. Another difference I think for me is that I'm a lot more comfortable in voicing out my opinions now. I think it's due to the different education systems in Oxford. You're really encouraged to let people know what you think, of course in a tactful way, but I really like that there's really good like intellectual discussions here, and I'm able to kind of bring that back to Malaysia as well.
Terrific. Any final comments you want to make?
I also use this YouTube channel a lot, so it's a great full circle moment actually.
Yeah, same here. It's an honor to work with Dr. Rat Williams.
Yes.
Yeah.